Sure.
What you thought the first time you even touched it and everything.
Yeah.
That story.
So how we met and how we got connected and how this whole thing kind of evolved was just kind of a blessing the way it all laid out, because I had before I ended up going this route, as a owner-operator, I was kind of at a crossroads in my life at that point in time. Without getting too personal, I was going to kind of go out on my own, and so I had looked into different ways that I could, make the most money, and I felt like I had enough knowledge. I had the background, right? I mean, I thought I could go this route, and it was just everything lined up for me to be able to do organic crops, right? So
Last year.
yeah. So I had searched high and low for organic fertilizer, and it just wasn't coming together. Everything I found it cost a fortune, and I didn't really know if it was going to work out. I didn't want to spend a lot of money, and I happened to see your ad on Facebook, and so I was out mowing CRP down, and I'm like, you know what? Why not? I'm just going to call this guy and see what this is all about. So I called you. You called me back, and I left you a voicemail. You called me back, and ended up sending a couple totes up. Well, the way the weather happened and everything fell, I wasn't able to get any of that stuff planted, because organics is a whole different ball. It's a whole different animal anyways. So ended up, I had this BioSure Grow sitting around, and we had gotten into a pickle on some beans that I'd done some cover crops on the year before, and couldn't till the ground. Well, we had some chemical failures, and so I ended up having to use like Ultra Blazer to burn back the water hemps, and these beans, we had to no-till them. It was dry, and we had to water them up. I mean, it was a terrible situation, as bad as they can get, just about. And so these beans struggled and struggled and struggled. They struggled with moisture. They struggled with weed pressure. Then they struggled with chemical burn. And then we started adding insects into the mix. And so I'm like, well, I've got this BioSure Grow here. I mean, I don't really know what it's going to do, but I'm just going to go with it, So we started applying the BioSure Grow, and I just babied them and just kind of foliered them throughout the season. And, those beans shouldn't have made anything really, realistically, and we ended up having a halfway decent crop out there. I saw more 4-bean pods on a stem than I ever have in my life, and I thought that was pretty cool. It clustered the beans on the nodes, I thought, better than I'd seen, and I knew there was something to it, and I knew that it also adds the benefits to the soil that we hadn't seen yet, and so that's kind of how I knew it was the real deal. I had used a lot of foliars leading up to that point and hadn't really seen a response like I had seen with that. So fast forward to this year. So on those 360s there that we had that problem with, the BioSure Grow got used pretty heavily last year, and then this year in furrow, along with the chemical applications. So I cut those beans off here a couple weeks ago, and I got out just checking behind the combine, making sure I was still doing a good job, and the dirt, the bare dirt right there, kind of looked like potting soil, and I haven't even told you this yet. And so I'm like, man, that looks black. We really don't have black dirt here. And I took my hand and I went to rake in it, and it was just like, it really was like potting soil. And so I was like, that's so fluffy. I took my hand and I made my hand disappear. Just stuck it straight into the soil, and it went clear to my wrist. And so I thought that was incredible,
Yeah.
And we had noticed that we couldn't get our timing, our irrigation, applications timed quite right this year, because our ground held water a lot better, and the smell of the soil, just everything on because that's the only fields that we had used it on last year. So 2 years with the BioSure Grow, it's night and day difference than our other fields even after the first year.
Which that was the field, we had the field day on, so you can see pictures of that and hear you talking about it there. But then I guess we're talking about that field and you cut it off. Tell them what you saw when you was cutting this year and just what you all did to it this year with the your whole program on that field at least.
Sure. So those beans in that field right there that we had the field day in, they were a 3-6, pretty short season for our part of the countryside. So I put the gallon of BioSure Grow with my food grade liquid in furrow and went off, and the beans, I just went off and let them do their thing. And I was going to come back with
And how many gallons of your food grade?
7.
And
So I ran 7 gallons
less
of
than
food grade,
normal?
3, 18, 18.
Same as normal.
It's less than you should use.
Okay.
So, but like I said, I mean, I'm trying to do more with less, and I'm trying to push the envelope, and with the efficiency factor that the BioSure Grow adds, I felt like I was going to be able to achieve a good high yield with that amount of fertilizer, and it came together, and it did what it was supposed to do. So the beans ended up going from knee high to dang near chest high, just like that. I mean, the weather was right, we watered good, and all of a sudden I wasn't comfortable getting in the field with the ground pig anymore. And so I thought, you know what, they're very healthy. I'm not going to spray them with fungicide, insecticide, nothing. I'm just going to let them be. And so I scouted them a few times a week, and they looked good. I did a tissue sample on them. Came back great. Our nitrogen was off the charts. And so I let them do their thing, and they never got anything else the rest of the season. They were healthy. The Brix level was really high. We tested it that day. I can't remember what it tested, but it was like 13 or something. It was really high.
Yeah, excellent for soybeans.
Yeah, and we ended up, I cut them off. I cut more 100-plus bushel beans off of that field than I ever have in my whole entire life. You know, usually you just tap over 100 in like your very best spots. Maybe if it got double watered by 2 pivots or something, but no, I've got videos of just running solid over 100, 120, 130 bushel through the field. And so ended up take the terrace bottoms out, corners out. We almost averaged 90 bushel. So, I mean, not to mention I cut them at like 8.7%, so we were for sure losing, 8 to 10 to 12 bushels off the top just right there.
Yeah.
So they were also popping, 6 inches down. We probably had 4, 5, 6 bushel on the ground. So I'd say it's pretty safe to say they averaged over 100 if we would have cut them.
Not at all.
Yeah, if we could have got it all.
Yeah.
So, but that was real exciting to see that for sure.
Awesome. And that's, you haven't told me about the dirt, so that's very cool. That you're getting that good results that fast in just 2 years' time.
Yeah.
But then let's back up again. Your other story of how the fertilizer you left in that tank, because at first you just thought it was brown food coloring or whatever.
That's right.
Last
That's
year,
right.